a company whose products are used by more than 3 billion people in almost 200 countries, and the number of search queries per year exceeds the figure of several trillion. A global giant that can influence both the policies of individual states and individual people. How did the most ordinary idea, born in a dormitory at Stanford University, manage to grow into one of the largest companies in the world? The history of Google began during the internet boom of the second half of the 90s, and the founders are two friends, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Sergey Brin was born in Moscow on August 21, 1973, in a family of Soviet scientists of Jewish origin, but at age 6, he and his family moved to Maryland, where his father was offered a teaching position at a local university. At the age of 9, his father gave the boy his first computer, one of the most expensive and modern by those standards. After graduating high school with honors, he went on to earn a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland at College Park, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather by studying mathematics and computer science. After graduation, he went to Stanford University to pursue a doctorate in computer science. Larry Page was born on February 26, 1973, in Lansing, Michigan, and came from a family of computer programmers. His parents were also computer science and programming professors at a university in Michigan. From an early age, Larry had a passion for computers, specifically assembling them. He collected parts from his parents' old computers and various mechanisms around the house, trying to make something new and unique out of it. Larry, just like Sergey, graduated from high school with honors and was able to enter the University of Michigan, where he received a bachelor's degree without any difficulty. Then in 1995, he decided to try to enter Stanford University. Sergey Brin was chosen as the student who was supposed to show Larry the university. According to some reports, on the day they met, they disagreed on almost all issues, but a year later they began working on a joint project. The idea for the search engine came in the course of research work. It was called The Anatomy of a Large-Scale Hypertextual Web Search Engine, which is believed to be the prototype of their future super-successful idea. The main idea of this work was to create a product by which people could easily search for any information on the expanses of the internet. By that time, there had already been created a few search engines, but in their work were often errors. During the search for information, search engines in the first place put those web pages in which words from search queries occur more often. Users found the information, but most often not the one they were looking for. That is, the algorithms of search engines at the time worked very primitively. This is how it all began. It took the guys several months to develop the new product. The main task was to make the new project include a certain algorithm PageRank, which ranked a web page according to the key information on it, not a keyword. The jointly developed project was called Backrub because the system's algorithms checked backlinks to assess the importance of pages. The Backrub system was soon renamed Google. The name is a reference to the number Google, the one with 100 zeros. It symbolizes the creator's desire to organize all the information on the internet and provide easy access to it. Since the project was developed by Stanford students, this search robot was already implemented on the university website in 1996. Already from the first days, it was noted by other students as more convenient and informative. In 1997, almost a year later, the guys registered the name of the new domain Google.com and developed its design. Colorful letters on a white background have not changed in 25 years, and the site design to this day is considered one of the most successful. For a while, the search engine did nothing but good for the university and its students. But within a couple of years, Google has attracted the attention not only of academia but also investors in Silicon Valley. Few people know, but a key role in the birth of the Google giant is a professor at the same Stanford University, David Cheriton, who today is officially the richest professor in the world, and his fortune is estimated at $1.5 billion. At the same time, he still works at the university 5 days a week and lives a normal teaching life, coming to work in an old Volkswagen. Sergey Brin and Larry Page were not students of Cheriton, but it was to him they turned for advice, hoping that he would help them find a way to monetize. The professor introduced the young developers to businessman Andy Bechtolsheim, one of the founders of Sun Microsystems. It only took Andy a few minutes to fall in love with the conversation about the Google search engine and to appreciate the plan of Brin and Page. In August 1998, even before the company was incorporated, Sun Microsystems co-founder Andy Bechtolsheim wrote Larry and Sergey a check for $100,000. With that money, Google Incorporated was founded. The young entrepreneurs no longer needed to squat in a dormitory, and they set up their first office, a garage on the outskirts of Menlo Park, California. The garage belonged to Susan Wojcicki, who now serves as CEO of YouTube. The interior of the new office consisted of bulky computers, a ping-pong table, and a bright blue carpet. The tradition of colorful decorations in Google's offices continues to this day. After receiving the first investment, on September 4, 1998, Sergey and Larry officially registered the name Google. It is worth noting that a few years earlier in the same Stanford University graduate students David Filo and Jerry Young have developed another search service, Yahoo, and in 1998, Yahoo, already a successful rich company, declined an offer to buy Google for $1 million. And in 2002, already offered themselves $3 billion for Google. But the deal did not happen, because Google was already worth much more. And although Yahoo, certainly a big company, exists to this day, jumping ahead to say that they still have not achieved as great success as Google. And Google in March 1999, moved to Palo Alto, California, a city that is home to the headquarters of several other well-known technology startups in Silicon Valley. And on June 7th of that year, announced a $25 million funding round with big investors like venture capital firms Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield and Byers, and Sequoia Capital. In 2000, contrary to Page and Brin's original stance against an ad-funded search engine, Google began selling ads related to keyword searches. However, advertising should not interfere with search, Page and Brin believed. And to remain fair to its users, Google always highlights ads in search results, with a colored background and the label Ad Link. Even at the stage of developing a plan for the use of advertising, the guys rejected the idea of placing on the search engine flashing banners and pop-up links of advertising nature. Through simple text ads, invariably separated from the search results, the company still gets most of its revenue. In July 2001, Eric Schmidt took over as chairman and CEO of Google at the invitation of the company's founders. In September 2002, the company launched a new service, Google News, providing access to all of the world's major news stories on a single web page. Sometime later, developers managed to create a personal search engine through which users easily find the information they need for specific queries and even whole sentences in the search engine, which at the time was a real breakthrough. In 2003, the company leased its current office complex from Silicon Graphics in Mountain View, California. The complex has since become known as the Googleplex. 3 years later, Google bought the property from SGI for $319 million. By this time, the name Google had entered everyday speech, with the result that the verb Google was added to the Merriam-Webster Academic Dictionary and the Oxford English Dictionary with the meaning to use the Google search engine to find information on the internet. On August 19, 2004, Google's initial public offering, IPO, took place. The company offered 19,605,052 shares at $85 per share. The shares were sold through a unique format online auction organized by the underwriters of the deal, Morgan Stanley and Credit Suisse. The IPO proceeds of $1.67 billion meant that Google had a market capitalization of more than $23 billion. The vast majority of the 271 million shares remained under Google's control, and many Google employees became instant millionaires, owners of securities. Yahoo, a Google competitor, also benefited because it owned 8.4 million shares of Google stock before the IPO. Every year the service was improved with new ideas of developers, and in 2005 a new system of interactive maps, Google Maps, and a little later an online office, Google Docs appeared. By the end of 2006, less than 2 years after its launch, Google Maps became the largest mapping service in the world. And Google Docs tools are used by tens of millions of people every day. New products have brought the company and its owners a huge income, but one of the greatest success of the company was the acquisition of video hosting YouTube in 2006. It is worth noting that initially Google launched its own video hosting service, called Google Video, and things were going well, as believed by the developers. But it was not for long, until 2005 when YouTube came along. In detail, the history of YouTube we're not going to dwell on, as it will be devoted to a separate video on our channel. We'll just briefly say that YouTube was created in February 2005 by Steve Chen, Chad Hurley, and Javed Karim, 3 former PayPal employees in San Bruno, California. They used flash video technology, which allows relatively good recording quality with a small amount of data being transmitted. About a year and a half later, in November 2006, Google's purchase of YouTube for $1.65 billion was completed. At that time, with the advent of mobile technology, Google also became actively involved in this area. While many companies had a real race in the world of mobile devices, our heroes decided to take a different path, the development of software. So in 2007, the world saw the operating system Android, which is considered the most popular to date. Android was bought in 2005 by Google Corporation from Andy Rubin, who also went to work at Google and later became a vice president of the company. But in 2014, Andy Rubin was fired from Google following a sexual harassment scandal. The incident, among others, led to the 2018 Google walkouts from Google's employee workforce over Rubin reportedly receiving a $90 million exit package to expedite his separation from the company. That same year, 2007, was open to all-comers email service Gmail, which has been developed since 2001. And by 2012, the total number of Gmail users had grown to 425 million. On October 22, 2008, Google announced the opening of an online application store for the Android operating system, Android Market, which was later renamed to Google Play. And in March 2015, there were changes in the structure of the store in some countries. The section with devices was separated from Google Play and reformatted into an independent gadget store called Google Store. Also in 2008, the first Google Chrome browser appeared, which in just 5 years became the most popular among internet users worldwide. As of 2022, the market share of Google in the search engine segment is 91.9%. As of June 20, 2010, Page, Brin, and Eric Schmidt owned about 91% of Class B shares, which together give their holders 68% of the vote. The triumvirate exerts decisive influence in all shareholder matters. On April 4, 2011, Larry Page became CEO. Eric Schmidt remained chairman of the board of directors of Google. By the way, throughout the company, the responsibilities of the two founders were separate. Larry Page was more responsible for organizational aspects, while Sergey Brin worked on secret projects and new developments. In this regard, he even got the nickname Batman, as he also had high-tech gadgets. He even drives a pink Tesla with the Batman emblem on the hood. It is also surprising that the two founders of the tech giant do not look like typical billionaires at all. A few years ago, a photo of Sergey Brin simply blew up the internet. One of the richest men on the planet was quietly driving in the New York subway, holding a yellow bag in his hands. You can also often just see him walking down the street without any security. You can even walk up to him and take a few pictures or just talk about life. There he is, one of the richest men on the planet. In 2015, Google was reorganized into an Alphabet holding company, which included Google itself, as well as several other companies that were subsidiaries of Google. All Google shares were converted into Alphabet shares, but continue to be traded on the Nasdaq exchange as Google. As a result of Google's reorganization and the creation of Alphabet's holding company, Sundar Pichai, also a Stanford University graduate, became the company's CEO. Over the past few years, the company has gone from a provider of mostly search engine to cloud computing, video, and music streaming, autonomous vehicles, a provider of medical services, and more. Now the company already has about 100 different products and services, and it would take a very long time to talk about each of them. We have tried to tell only about the most important moments in the history of the company's development. As of today, the company has about 80,000 employees in 70 countries around the world. The market capitalization of Alphabet in 2021 exceeded $2 trillion, while in 2022, amid the global crisis, it fell to $1.2 trillion. The company is the fourth most expensive company in the world. It's also impossible not to mention the company's corporate culture, which helps them recruit and retain the best employees. It encourages an unconventional approach to daily tasks. Employees are free to show their creativity by offering fresh solutions. For example, a junior professional can share his or her thoughts directly with a senior manager without the involvement of the middle manager. The organization of the workspace at Google has become an example for many global companies, which shows why it is important to make employees' workplaces comfortable. Employees can work in any environment they like. They are not confined to a workplace with gray walls and dim lighting. Instead, employees have very bright offices and can work in the lounge area as well as in the coffee shop. That is, anywhere where they feel comfortable and can concentrate to solve their tasks. And one of the main reasons is that all employees have a clear idea of the values and goals of the company. Google's 10 principles go like this. 1. The interests of users come first. 2. It's better to do one thing, but really well. 3. The faster, the better. 4. We believe in democracy on the internet. 5. You don't need a computer to use the internet. 6. Business should benefit everyone. 7. There is more information than it seems. 8. Information must be available to all. 9. It is possible to be serious without a tie. 10. You can always do better. These are the values and the story of the tech giant Google, which began with a research paper done by two buddies in a dormitory at Stanford University. Guys, how do you personally feel about Sergey Brin, Larry Page, Eric Schmidt, and Google? What company products do you use on a daily basis? Be sure to write about them in the comments. Also, tell us what other companies you would like to hear about in our videos. If you liked the video, please like it, it will motivate us to create new ones. And don't miss them, subscribe and click the bell. Fi free.